It's time for the Splash Live from Civic Center TV, featuring stories from and about people like you in the greater West Bloomfield area. Simulcast on cable, 89.3 Lakes FM, social media, and the web. Now live from Green Media Center on Walnut Lake Road, it's the Splash Live.
Live, local, social, it's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. I'm your host, Tyler Keefe. Thank you so much for being with us. And of course, you can always stay with us on our social media and online on civiccentertv.com. Our top story today was a big weekend for the West Bloomfield Lakers and historic fourth consecutive appearance at state finals weekend for girls basketball at the Breslin Center in East Lansing. 4 consecutive years of West Bloomfield being present in the semifinal game, where they've made 3 consecutive championship appearances and brought home 2 trophies themselves. Civic Center TV's Kevin McIntosh has a recap of the biggest stories and all the action from their weekend in East Lansing.
The West Bloomfield girls varsity basketball team lost to the Belleville Tigers in their 4th consecutive state semifinals, 60-55. The Lakers fought hard until the final buzzer, but came up short in a tightly contested matchup. Despite the loss, the team has continued to build on an impressive legacy, proving year after year that they are one of the top programs in the state of Michigan.
A lot of hard work and dedication from these athletes. In season, off season, they're constantly in the gym. Even during the school day, they're coming down on their lunch periods. They're taking shots. The coaching staff is extremely dedicated. We have an administration that supports our athletic program. So it's just, it's an all-encompassing thing. It's for their hard work, their dedication, and their success.
In the first quarter, the West Bloomfield Lakers senior Sheridan Beal got things kicked off early with a corner three-pointer. But the Belleville Tigers responds with a 3 of their own. From there, it was a lot of turnovers and missed rebounds from the Lakers that resulted in more points for the Tigers and a deficit for West Bloomfield. Held to only 2 field goals in the first quarter, the Lakers trailed 5-21. In the second quarter, the West Bloomfield Lakers showed up to the Breslin, capitalizing on defensive rebounds, turnovers from steals, and big-time blocks that translated to more buckets for the Lakers. Belleville kept themselves in the game, returning shots, while West Bloomfield found momentum on offense and defense. Wrapping up the first half, the Lakers were still behind 8 points, 23-31. Starting the third, West Bloomfield impressed with points, more steals, and defensive rebounds. It didn't take long before Belleville got back in the game, hitting a 3 from the wing and finding points in the paint. Although West Bloomfield didn't lose their grip, it wasn't enough to hang in the third quarter. The Lakers down 36-45 to start the fourth. The final quarter seemed to favor West Bloomfield, hitting their shots, but unfortunately, the Tigers put up buckets and out-rebounded the Lakers to wrap up the game. West Bloomfield lose in their 4th straight state semifinals appearance, 55-60. After the game, I spoke with senior guard Ava Lord for her reaction.
We had a slow start, so I feel like if we didn't have a slow start, the game would be different. But, I mean, things happen, but I just feel like if we had a strong start, it could have been a different outcome. We could have attacked more. It's just like little things that we could have fixed to, make a different outcome of this game. Coach
McAllister talked to our very own Tyler Keith about beating expectations despite coming up short of the title.
Yeah, well, the thing is, we came in a few years ago and we established a culture, and it was a winning culture. A lot of people thought I was crazy when I first said that we can win a state championship the first year, and we did that. Came back the second year, came within 4 points. Third year, championship. And here it is this year, brand new team, one starter from last year, and nobody thought we would be here. At one point, we were 1-4. The only people that believed that we would get here is us, and we kept fighting, and I told the girls, if you just believe, You just believe we'll be standing strong in December. We'll be standing strong in March. In December, we can't worry about it. So at the end of the day, they believe we got here. I will say we played Belleville the first time and we lost by almost 40 points. Today was within 5. I think if we would have had a stronger first quarter, we'd probably be having a different conversation.
While the season may have ended one game shy of the state finals, the Lakers' journey to 4 straight semifinals is a testament to their resilience, talent, and winning culture. With a strong foundation and a history of success, West Bloomfield remains a powerhouse in Michigan high school basketball, and there's no doubt they'll be back competing at the highest level again soon. Reporting from Breslin Center, I'm Kevin McIntosh, Civic Center TV.
They left something for us to be very proud of in that effort. They had quite a large deficit at some points during that game against a Belleville Tigers team that had 1 loss on the season, eventually went on to win the state title game 61-48 over another familiar foe for the Lakers in Rockford that had missed basketball for the state of Michigan and Anna Wypich. And so this is not some devastating loss for the Lakers. This season was an incredible run for West Bloomfield's girls as they made it to their unprecedented 4th consecutive trip to the Breslin Center for state semifinals and finals weekend. It's the first time in 4 years along that streak that they did not end up in the state championship game, and just the 3rd time in that run that they didn't bring home the state championship themselves. And while that 4th straight trip to MHSAA finals weekend spelled the end of a 3-year trip for the Lakers to the final game that included 2 titles, along the way, head coach Darren McAllister says the team overcame the odds and expectations, all with a championship effort.
Brand new team, 1 starter from last year. And nobody thought we would be here. At one point, we were 1-4. The only people that believed that we would get here is us. And we kept fighting. And I told the girls, if you just believe, we'll be standing strong in March. In December, we can't worry about it. I hate the season had to end this way. But at the end of the day, I think it was, 128 teams, and we're one of the final 4. And back in December, nobody even expected us to have a winning season, let alone be standing here at the Breslin talking to you guys.
A hard-fought 55-60 loss to Belleville in the semifinal may have stung, but senior Ava Lord still maintains pride in the program's championship run and the 2025 team's gritty season.
I'm grateful to be a part of it. Just going back to the Breslin for the 4th year in a row just makes me really happy. You know, each team believed in each other, so that's why we got back to the Breslin.
Along the journey from an anticipated fall-off to an abysmal early season record, all the way to a resurgent playoff run, the Lakers earned the respect of their community, as well as the respect of some of the best players in the state of Michigan.
They're a great team. They showed a lot of resilience. I think they were 1-4 their first 5 games, but they went on a tear throughout the last stretch of the season. So they're a really good team.
Trust me, they heard it at the beginning of the year.
Right.
They heard, oh my gosh, you guys are 1-4. You guys can't compete with what the teams have done before. And they're like, okay, you know what? We're gonna show you. We're gonna work and continue to work until we can come out and show you exactly what we are as a team. And they found their identity, and look at them now.
I'm extremely proud. As a coach, as a fan, as a supporter, I'm extremely proud. I mean, those kids could have easily just folded and just gave in on the season, but when we were 1-4, I kept the receipts. I mean, I was listening to the critics. I was listening to a lot of people saying that we weren't going to, I didn't even think we'd have a winning season. We put the work in, and the results are getting to the Breslin Center with, every year that we've been here, and it doesn't stop. I mean, I told you guys last year, our name is on the lease. You probably need to go check that because it is. Because we'll be back next year. I can guarantee you that.
If you were to ask the people at West Bloomfield High School that know these girls to describe their best quality as basketball players, they'd probably respond much like the sign behind me reads: tough. However, that work ethic and resilience that they've shown throughout 2025 should come as no surprise. Not just their qualities as athletes, but their identity as a team.
In season, off season, they're constantly in the gym. Even during the school day, they're coming down on their lunch periods. They're taking shots.
These young ladies, I tell you, the grind that they go through, seeing them in practice every single day and seeing how hard they work, watching them develop through the year. The girls have done it themselves. These young ladies, they work. Those practices are intense, and they are a true representation of Laker Nation. They're a true representation of the West Bloomfield community.
A team that once lived by the mantra, "We believe," still believes. and their community continues to support them every step of the way.
My message is very simple. I love you. I love each and one of those kids. I love what they've done for the program. I love what they've done for the school. I love what they've done for the community. And that's what I'm leaving with. I love you.
Thank you for all the support. It really means a lot.
They had a great group of supporters out at that game, on the semifinal game on Friday, as they took on the Belleville Tigers. They finished their season with 19 wins, far beyond what people would have expected as they started the season, as we said in that story. 1-4 overall, including a blowout loss to the Tigers. They ended up losing that semifinal game 55-60, making several pushes back in the game as close as 1 point late in the game as well, and going up against the Gatorade Player of the Year, Sydney Savory, who, yes, that last name sounds familiar to you. She is the sister of Jaden Savory, a state champion in his own right at Orchard Lake St. Mary's, both on the basketball court and on the football field in the last 365 days. You can see my conversation with her on her YouTube page at Civic Center TV. And, of course, you can follow along the entire journey from this historic run by the girls' varsity basketball team at West Bloomfield High School. CivicCenterTV.com/Lakers25. Again, that is CivicCenterTV.com/Lakers25. We have a picture at the very top of our page as we speak that you can click on that will take you to that as well to follow the entire journey. A great run for the girls in 2025, and they're already putting their marking their calendars for March of 2026, expecting to continue history with a 5th consecutive appearance to the Breslin Center for semifinals weekend next year. That QR code on your screen as we speak will take you to our girls' varsity basketball page to follow their entire playoff journey. We thank you for joining along and congratulate the girls on another incredible season on the hardwood. Close to home in West Bloomfield in February, multiple break-ins from vehicles were reported in the local area, and those crimes have now been resolved with help from investigators across our local area. But they come with some surprising results, with personal belongings from wallets to credit cards to social security cards, driver's licenses, and even firearms being among that stolen from multiple vehicles across our local area. So what do you need to know about this string of crimes, and what can you do to prevent falling victim from similar incidents in the future? Joining us for more information is Deputy Police Chief for the West Bloomfield Police Department, Scott Long. Thank you so much for being with us, sir.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, good to have you on to talk about this, because at first when you see this news, you think that this is quite jarring. It's quite surprising and may be some worrisome for some people in our community. The good news is this particular string of vehicle break-ins has been resolved. Give us a little bit more details on that than what I've already provided.
Sure. So back on February 13th, our dispatch center received numerous calls from 4 different addresses that vehicles had been broken into overnight down in the south end of the township, 14 Mile and Halstead area in an upscale neighborhood. And officers took the police reports and learned that vehicles had been unfortunately left unlocked in in front of the homes, in driveways, and parked in the roadway. And someone had overnight gone in and removed numerous property items. We had a total of 4 incidents in West Bloomfield, but there was numerous other incidents from other surrounding areas that were suspected to be linked to the same suspects.
Yeah, and in all the results, this individual, the string of vehicle break-ins led to, among the findings from a search warrant, 75 credit cards, 2 vehicle scanners, 10 wallets, 4 social security cards, Michigan lottery tickets, a stolen firearm. This was quite extensive, but the good news is that between multiple departments in our local area, this person was able to be apprehended. But coming through this, with our community being affected, what should people be keeping top of mind when it comes to their personal belongings and their vehicles to prevent becoming victim to anybody that may commit some similar crime in the future?
Yes, that's a great question. And the answer to that question is, please do your due diligence and remove any items of value from the cars. Take them inside the home. If you're going to leave them inside the car, please, not in plain view. Put them into a container or an area that is not being able to be viewed through the windows. like the glove box or maybe a rear area, a hatch or something that has a covering so it's not visible through the windows. But like I say, best option is to remove them from the cars and take them inside. And also, first and foremost, please lock your doors to your cars. It's a property crime, and people that are interested in committing these crimes, the easiest targets are the vehicles that have unlocked doors. And the suspects frequently do go around the subdivisions and pull on door handles and see which vehicles are unlocked. And those are the easiest targets for them.
And so when people are locking up their vehicles for the night, should they ideally put them inside a garage and then they can leave them locked or unlocked, or should they be locked no matter where they're at?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, if you are able to keep the car garage, that's going to be the best case scenario. I agree with you. I personally, when I put my cars in my garage, I lock them also. In the event that someone's able to gain entry into the garage overnight, or at some point when it's no one's around and the suspect's active, then if the car's locked, they're not able to get inside. So yes, I agree with that. I think that locking the cars while in the garage and then putting the door down is the absolute best case scenario for security.
And in terms of enforcement, this particular string of crimes, quite extensive over a long period of time, I would presume, and ultimately this person and others that were involved were presumably able to be apprehended and this taken care of. But these are not uncommon crimes that we see across all communities, regardless of whether they're one of the safest communities in the country, like we have here in West Bloomfield, or anywhere else in our neighboring area. And so from the law enforcement side, what does your team do to help prevent these sort of crimes from a patrol standpoint?
So it's a great point that you just made there. So larceny from auto is what we call this crime. And it is a property crime that essentially crosses all socioeconomic boundaries. So you're going to find crimes like this occur in lower economic areas, middle areas, and then in upscale areas like West Bloomfield as well. So a couple of things that we do as an agency. We have a crime prevention officer community relations officer. She is diligent in trying to send out the message on social media and otherwise to notify people and keep reminding them at the forefront of their mind to please be conscious about security, locking their car doors, like I've already mentioned. If possible, remove items, take them away from the car, put them inside your home, lock them up. Don't allow them to be in plain view. And also our patrol officers are very diligent about doing subdivision checks and being very present in the areas where the homes and the cars are in the subs to try and be a deterrent to would-be criminals.
Deputy Police Chief Scott Mong is with us from the West Bloomfield Police Department on today's edition of the Splash Live as we talk again about larceny from auto issues in our local community. Not exactly something that happens every single day, but it happens often enough, and there are certain things that lead to people being a little bit more susceptible to being at victim of these crimes. So we're trying to get that information out there with our local police department on how you can prevent yourself from being in that position yourself. Now, as we talk about enforcement from your side of things, there's only so many places that your officers can be at a given time when they're out on patrol. So how does resident help end up aiding in preventing these crimes, but also in reporting and ultimately enforcing the law when it comes to larceny from autos after the fact?
Another great question. So a lot of the time we are not able to solve crimes without the public's help. So when people are diligent and being aware and keeping their eyes peeled and observing things that they believe are suspicious, feel free to please call us with any suspicious activity that's observed, or if you witness what you believe is a crime that occurred, please contact the West Bloomfield Police Department. You can call 911 if it's an in-progress thing, or you can call our non-emergency number at 248-975-9200. Report any activity that you believe that we would have an interest in, and many times those tips lead to crimes being solved. So we appreciate those calls very much. Tyler, I want to mention one other thing, that the defendant in this particular case is presumed innocent. These are alleged things that contained in the complaint and warrant, and they're mere allegations at this point, and nothing has been proven. Nothing, the case has not gone to court yet and is still being adjudicated.
Right. So at this point, there is a defendant in this case, but nothing has been ultimately decided in a court of law that would then declare any sort of guilt in this case. A very good point from our deputy police chief. However, part of this investigation does go on. We have shown some photos on our page. We'll continue to show them, and we can put them back up again, guys at Master Control. Some of those photos that do show some of the recovered items that were stolen in these larceny from autos incidents. If you have any information on those items, who they may belong to, or additional information on this case, you can report that to the West Bloomfield Police Department. Detective Peruzzi is on the case at 248-975-8998. Again, contact Detective Peruzzi if you have any information on these stolen items, who they may belong to, or any information on crimes that may have been related to these items being stolen. 248-975-8998 and request to speak to Detective Peruzzi. Deputy Chief Scott Long is with us from the West Bloomfield Police Department. Anything else that we should know on this case, or generally looking at larceny from autos prevention here in West Bloomfield and the surrounding area?
Just want to alleviate the public's fears, if they are anxious about the fact that this has occurred, that we're taking these matters very seriously. This was a matter that was investigated very well by our detective bureau, and they were able to get a multi-count felony warrant for the defendant and solve this crime. So just want to let the public know we take these things seriously. We are investigating all matters where there's any evidence or information to follow up on. We are diligent about that. So thank you for having me.
Appreciate your time, Deputy Chief, and appreciate the information. The best thing that we can do to not have these crimes occur in our local area is to take those preventative measures. Make it part of your routine to lock up your vehicle, to double check that, maybe take a walk around your vehicle after you've locked it in your driveway or in your garage, just to make sure there aren't any of those valuables present, and that will make such a huge difference. Deputy Chief, appreciate your time.
Thank you very much for having me.
More information and helpful tips from across the greater West Bloomfield area from the West Bloomfield Police Department can be found on their Facebook page at West Bloomfield PD, or go to the West Bloomfield Township website at wbtownship.org. Close to home at the West Bloomfield Township Public Library, Reading Month is well underway, and the celebration continued with not just some of our most beloved readers in the local area, but some of those creatives that are bringing their stories out to our community and beyond. Reporter Jake Schaff has the story.
Just recently, the West Bloomfield Township Public Library put together their second annual local author fair, an incredible event to help preserve that very special bond between author and reader, and shedding some insight on some local connections for some of their favorite books.
It's great fun. I mean, one kid brought me a drawing that he did because he was inspired by my Franny book, Franny K. Stein, which is a science book, and people know me from different projects, so it's a lot of fun to meet them. Most writers come from readers, so the kids who are reading a lot, those are the kids that often grow up to be the writers.
I was really excited that this was so local, just 5 minutes away, and it's brilliant because we get to meet all of our other fellow authors and librarians, and it's a wonderful event, so really humbled and happy to be here. That is my absolute favorite part of doing live events, is being able to meet the little readers, because they're always 100% honest, and it's just fun to see them excited about literature and creating. It's just really fun to see them get involved with, as I say, creativity and literature, and be excited about books again.
So we've had a pretty good turnout today with the local author fair. There's a diverse variety of authors for both youth and adult. We have Jim Benton here, who is a national best-selling author for kids and adults. We have some other national best-selling authors, and we have some folks that are just starting out.
Have things gotten even bigger since the last author fair last year?
So we had many more applicants this year. We had 55 applicants, which is double what we had last year, so it's very hard to decide who to bring in. But yes, they have gotten bigger since last year.
It's really exciting. I'm glad that this is an opportunity for authors to meet each other, for young people to meet the authors. There's a lot to be offered here in West Bloomfield, and very talented people.
And a chance for you to learn about some other authors and some other types of books, because there's books here for everybody.
Everybody, yeah. So I haven't looked at all of the books yet, but there is a wide variety of something for everybody. Whatever your interest is, your reading level, there's something here for you. If you can't come on down today, like come down the next time they have it. I highly recommend it.
How important would you say events like these are in terms of helping to preserve these young readers and making sure that books like yours and books for the future continue coming?
Well, it's good for kids to sort of peek behind the curtain, and they can see that, books are made by human beings and they're not made by machines, and it makes it something that's accessible to them, and they start thinking of themselves as the type of person that could write a book.
I am all about the community, and I feel fortunate to be able to bring these events to people and to bring not only literacy, but other things like art and different workshops to the people so that they can, come together as a community. I believe that the library should be a community hub.
Everybody left the author fair with powerful connections and a wealth of creativity. And it just goes to show how important these events are for the greater West Bloomfield community and how important it is to be inspiring another generation of readers. For Civic Center TV, I'm Jake Schaff.
Big celebration for our authors in the local area. So many incredible creatives at the main library for their author fair. You can find more information on even more Reading Month events happening at the main library and the West Acres branch on Facebook at West Bloom LIB, or follow them on their website, wblib.org. Again, that's wblib.org for even more event dates coming up for the kids, for the family, for everybody involved right here in the greater West Bloomfield area to celebrate Reading Month and more educational opportunities in the future. We'll take a break on the Splash Live. Plenty more to get to on the other side from across West Bloomfield, Keego Harbor, Sylvan Lake, and Orchard Lake Village. Live, local, social, it's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.
We'll be right back with the Splash Live.
Hi, I'm Chris Fry, Park Superintendent, West Bloomfield Parks. Congratulations, Civic Center TV, on 1 million views on YouTube. Thank you for all you do in the community, and thank you for having me on The Splash throughout the season to talk about activities out in the parks. Chris Fry, proud to be 1 in a million.
Good nutrition can help make sure you have enough iron, calcium, and vitamin C in your body, which can make it harder for lead to enter your bloodstream. Help protect your family from the harmful effects of lead.
Bringing you stories and memories from Sylvan Lake. Civic Center TV, television that's close to home. And now, back to the Splash, live.
Live, local, social, it's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. I'm Tyler Keefe. Thank you so much for joining us. And of course, for following along with us each and every day on our social media. Facebook at Civic Center TV 15. You can also find us on X, on Instagram, and of course on YouTube at Civic Center TV as well. In the heart of the Lakes, meet the new chief, same as the present chief, with Robert Barnes having the interim tag officially removed from his job title by City Council as he becomes the full-time permanent chief of police for the Keego Harbor Police Department. Joining us for a celebration, congratulations, and as he begins with his brand new title is the chief himself, Robert Barnes. Thank you so much for being with us today, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, glad to have you on. 22 years and counting with the Keego Harbor Police Department before you got the interim chief of police position. A little bit of training went into the last several months beyond that, and now you're the full-time chief. But take us through that moment recently where you were ultimately appointed the full-time chief in what was a packed house, standing room only at Keego Harbor City Hall.
Yeah, the support was incredible. It was very, very humbling. The city's been good to me, city manager and the city council, and it was I always have to pinch yourself a couple times, but yeah, it was great that that the interim part now is behind me, so now I can get out there a little bit more. And I had some time to get my ducks in a row, so just hitting the ground running.
And take us through a little bit of the nuance of it. You mentioned now you can kind of get out there a little bit more as the full-time chief versus during the interim period. What maybe are some of those subtle differences that probably aren't going to get noticed by people every day in Keego Harbor, but definitely affected your job in the past several months?
Well, I'm going to be, what's the nuances are going to be that I'm going to be able to be a little more active on our social media, on the Keego Harbor Police Facebook page. And I'm going to get out and, the weather's getting nicer. I'll be able to be out in my official capacity, and I'm still going to be doing patrols, and by all intents and purposes, I'm still going to be a working chief. So the community's pretty familiar with me. So I've got to know a lot of these people, so a lot of the residents. So I'll be out there more.
A lot of the warm weather days ahead were some official trips, perhaps, to the Dairy Queen on Orchard Lake Road in Keego Harbor. Good excuse to get out there and have a nice treat in the middle of your hard work day. Chief Robert Barnes is with us from the Keego Harbor Police Department on today's edition of the Splash Live. The City Council recently removing the interim tag and naming him the official full-time chief of the Keego Harbor Police Department. And it's at a special time, too, Chief, as we're celebrating a big anniversary in Keego Harbor, 70 years as a city. So for you, what does that add to this moment for you to now, at this anniversary time where we're celebrating Keego as the incredible community that it is, to now be one of their representatives as their chief of police?
Always going to be added pressure now. But you know what? How cool is it that we got some new part-time officers that I brought on, and we have a new chief, and we have an anniversary. Planets are kind of aligning. It's going to be a fun summer.
That indeed, and you had such great support at the city council meeting where that full-time appointment officially happened. We had some video up there. We'll continue to play that throughout our conversation of you taking the official oath of office, having the official chief of police badge pinned onto you as well. But you had a lot of people that also showed up to talk about their experience working with you over the years, from both your time at Keego Harbor and previously in your law enforcement career. And that really goes to the crux of what makes you do your job so effectively. You build relationships really well. How important is that to you, and how do you shape your focus into that side of things on top of everything that you have to do from the law enforcement standpoint?
Well, building relationships is everything. I really enjoy when I get to have contacts with people. I mean, sometimes they're not very happy with you, but I end up developing relationships with them a little later as we talk more. But even with the officers, every contact is important. And so it does build relationships departmental wise too.
Chief Robert Barnes is with us from the Keego Harbor Police Department. They're newly named full-time chief of police as we celebrate 70 years of Keego Harbor at the time that we are having this conversation with the newly appointed full-time chief from their police department. Chief, building those relationships really important, but also having that, as you said, that additional staff that's going to be able to provide even more support. How big of a boost is that to your police department, where you're operating in a relatively small city from a size standpoint, but there is a lot of that nuance. You want to know the people, and it's important that they have a lot of that support from their local law enforcement.
And getting those two part-time officers really helped morale as well, because throughout the spring and last summer we were short, and I was even working the road on overtime. Officers would be coming in at 3 in the morning. Some would be doing doubles. 12-hour shifts and working on our weekends off. So, it gets drags on you after a while. So getting that relief was, kind of turned on the lights and made the made everything brighter in Keego. So there were these two part-timers that came on, as well as a new full-timer who graduated from the academy, went through on a grant for Keego. So everything kind of fell into place all at the right time, and I was able to come into this position at the right time. I think the timing was everything on this.
And you're taking over for, of course, Chief John Fitzgerald, the last full-time chief. You've been in his role as the interim chief for several months at this point, but you can maintain those good relationships with Chief Fitzgerald and with his predecessor in Chief Hurst. What advice have they given you now as you go into this role full-time in that greater capacity that you sort of talked about earlier on, and take over this larger role in a city that you've grown to learn and love over the years?
Well, the advice they gave you is they're absolutely correct. It is all the dynamics change now. I mean, it's a lot more responsibility. It's constant learning, and you got to have a lot of patience. You've got to have patience anyway for this job, but even more so, it's exciting and a little nerve-wracking sometimes, because you want to do everything right, and there's not a lot of room for errors. And I don't have a command structure, so
Appears we're having a brief technical difficulty with Chief Barnes. There we go. Now we have you. We had just a brief freeze there with you. We have you now just fine, Chief. Please continue.
So yeah, I mean, that's just about it. They said they told me that I'm going to be under the spotlight a little bit more, and I'm going to have to make decisions, do them quickly, and make them right. You got to be right decisions.
Well, for many years, people have known you as Detective Barnes or simply as Bobby. Now they're going to be calling you Chief, but it's the same Bobby Barnes we've known and loved in Keego Harbor for all these years.
Chief, it's still weird to hear that.
Yeah, you know what? It's going to be something that grows on. For a while, I kept calling you Detective Barnes, even as we had our internal conversations over here at Civic Center TV. So those new titles, they always get people. Yes. But you know what? It's a welcome time and a big change in Keego Harbor for the better and the future. Chief, before we let you go, any lasting message to your city and to the community as you now take on this role in a full-time and official, no longer interim capacity?
Yeah, hey, I intend on being, tell the residents, I intend on being a little more transparent with some of the incidents we have here in Keego. And of course, always, if you see something, say something. But also, I would encourage them in some of these instances or complaints or whatever, to reach out to the department direct. I see a lot of speculation on social media, and I think to myself, God, I wish, because I can't really respond to social media directly on some incidents and whatnot, but I kind of gripe and say, God, I wish they would just come in and ask us direct. I mean, we can eliminate a lot of the speculation. So I would ask that, there is going to be, and tell them that there is going to be more transparency, and ask that, don't be afraid to come on in and talk to me direct. My door is open.
Plenty of friendly people to talk to at the Keego Harbor Police Department all throughout the week. Over at Keego Harbor City Hall, that's on Beachmont in Keego, just off of Cass Lake or Orchard Lake Roads, over by the old Roosevelt School, and Gino's just down the road from it as well. Chief, thank you so much for your time, and congratulations once again.
Thanks again. Have a great morning.
You as well, Chief. We appreciate you coming on. And, of course, if you want more information from the Keego Harbor Police Department, ways to get in contact with them, KeegoHarbor.org. And for more information, things you need to know from your local police department in the heart of the lakes, you can follow them on Facebook at Keego Police. Again, that's Facebook at Keego Police for more info. And while you're there, send Chief Barnes a congratulations, as he is now the full-time, no longer the interim chief in the heart of the lakes. It's also a great time for the city of Keego Harbor, as Tuesday this week is the 70th anniversary of their community. A big celebration throughout this week in the heart of the lakes, a special community with some very special people taking on new and special roles from throughout Keego Harbor. Close to home, we continue to celebrate Women's History Month with some of the most prolific business owners right here in Greater West Bloomfield. Some of your favorite local eateries are owned and operated by women, including Nothing Bundt Cakes, with locations in Canton, Novi, Troy, and right here in West Bloomfield. Joining us now is their local owner and manager, Kelly Rankin, on the Splash Live. Kelly, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Tyler. I appreciate it.
Yeah, glad to have you on and to get to know your story, because it's so interesting to not only talk to these inspiring women who have not only started their own business but have been thriving in that business, but to sort of get the background of how they got from point A to point Z where they are at presently. So take us through a little bit of your journey and that ultimately led you to owning these local franchises of Nothing Bundt Cakes.
Absolutely, absolutely. My background is in automotive quality. So I had a 24-year career, primarily with Lear Corporation. And when I left, I was a vice president of quality, and I had 8 assembly plants that reported to me. And my philosophy is process, whether you're making car seats, whether you're making cakes. And I wanted to do something where I had a little more hands-on involvement in the business. And that is what led me to looking at Nothing Bundt Cakes. I was actually down in Texas for an ops review, and someone brought in cake. I'd not heard of it. We weren't in Michigan at the time. And that started approximately in 2015, I believe. And I opened my first bakery in late 2017. And so many of the principles that I used and applied when I was going through my automotive career, I still apply today in my bakeries. And moving from 1 bakery to 2 to 3 to 4, it's certainly been a journey. I have learned so much and worked so hard, but it's been an amazing journey.
And you said it, you made an interesting point, that quality is quality, whether it's in automotive or in the food service. And so that's always sort of been that guiding star for you in your business, whether you were in your executive capacity in your previous career or now in your executive and ownership capacity in your current career. But take us through some of the challenges that you overcame along the way, because that's kind of a big transition to go from automotive into food services.
Yes, so there were many challenges. As a quality professional in automotive, I called someone when there was an HR issue. I called someone when there was a building issue. I called someone when we had to do, if there was something around marketing, and I wear all of those hats now. Certainly, I have a very strong team, very strong leaders in my bakery that support that. But ultimately, the buck stops with me. Those are my employees. Those are my team members. That is my cake. It represents both the brand and me and how we, bake it, frost it, present it to our guests. So all of that, sits very squarely on my shoulders, which is fine. I'm perfectly fine with that. But those challenges, they continue to come up every day. Every week, I'll talk to my team members or my area manager and say, that's never happened before. But, we confront the issue, we figure out a solution, and we move forward. So there's not a day that goes by that there isn't some sort of challenge, but I have learned so much and continue to learn every day. And I think that truly is a gift.
We celebrate Women's History Month with another one of our prolific local female business owners in the Greater West Bloomfield area. Kelly Rankin from Nothing Bundt Cakes is with us on the Splash Live today. And Kelly, what's great about our community is we have such a diverse population of different businesses, different business owners with so much different experience in different sectors of business as well. And so as you operate your business here in Greater West Bloomfield, you're able to do so surrounded by other women in prominent positions as well. And so how has that discourse in your local community helped you continue to grow your business, but also inspired you to take those next steps in your career as you move forward?
Absolutely. So I am surrounded, even in my own shopping center, by women-owned businesses, and those owners come by all the time. When we first opened, we're coming up on a year almost, which is hard to believe, in our West Bloomfield store. But they come by, there are words of encouragement. We swap stories, we swap any sort of suggestions or best practices. And it really is very gratifying to be able to help other business owners in general, but especially women-owned business owners, as well as receive that information and that experience from them. And it's been great because every single bakery that I own, the community is slightly different, right? So West Bloomfield is slightly different from Novi, which is slightly different from Canton. So the welcoming way that I've been received has been amazing, and it really has helped us acclimate to the community in a way that I think we would not have been able to in any other circumstance.
And you told a little bit of the story of how that interaction with the community, just in your own building, has helped you grow this business. But you also do a lot on the outside of your building in the community, interfacing with greater West Bloomfield, not just West Bloomfield proper, but our surrounding communities as well. How does that contribute to you continuing to be able to grow your business, but also bring back to that sort of central focus from throughout your career of maintaining a certain quality in the product that you're providing?
Absolutely, absolutely. So we spend a lot of time outside of our four walls fostering relationships with the community, whether it's directly in West Bloomfield, Farmington Hills, Farmington, Southfield, et cetera. And certainly when we're doing that, I always want to be at my best and present our best product. I know our product speaks for itself, the cake speaks for itself, but in connecting with people, which is one of our core tenets, making those genuine connections, it certainly strengthens the business relationship. It strengthens people's view of what we do and how we do it. And we always want to present a good face. So again, those interactions are key to our business model and our success. And they have certainly seeded many opportunities for the bakeries, all four of my bakeries, because I may, be at an event for a chamber, for the chamber, and might meet somebody who's really from the east side, if you will, and we're able to make connections and seed business into my Troy location. So it really is a wonderful way to interact with other business owners, and like I said, it's just been such a gift and such a great part of the journey.
You made the jump, Kelly, from quality control in the automotive industry into the restaurant business in the local area. Now you have a business that has been thriving and has been in business in West Bloomfield for, as you said, almost a year. So for those other women that are either starting their businesses now or getting ready to, or maybe have an idea for taking that big leap, what's the best advice that you can give them that maybe you wish you would have known as you were starting your journey?
I would say trust your instincts, trust yourself. I think people in general, but especially women, we have a tendency to second guess a lot of the decisions. And as your previous interviewee talked about, you want to make the right decisions every single time. There are always going to be some issues or you won't have all the data at all the time to make a perfect decision, but you want to make the best decision with the data that you have at the time. And so I always tell when I'm talking to other women-owned businesses, business owners, or people who are thinking about going into business, trust your instincts and build your group of advisors. And that's the best advice I can give to people. It's just I didn't trust a lot of my decisions early on, and they were fine. They were great decisions. And they certainly have served me well. But the anxiety that caused was, I think a little bit detrimental in some ways, but certainly just the trust in yourself and what you're doing and that you can do it.
Yeah, well,
Never did I think I would be here at this point in my life, so sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's all right. And as we talk about building those dreams, we call it Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. And that's exactly what Kelly did with Nothing Bundt Cakes here in West Bloomfield, as well as in surrounding areas like Troy and in Canton as well. You can find more information on Nothing Bundt Cakes on their website, nothingbundtcakes.com. That's nothing, B-U-N-D-T, cakes.com, or visit their location in the Boardwalk Shopping Center on the Boulevard on Orchard Lake Road right here in West Bloomfield. Kelly, anything else that you'd like us to know about your business or about your journey to this success before we let you go today?
I would just say we're coming up on two of our biggest holidays of the year. Think of us when it comes to Easter and Mother's Day. We are here to support you in your busy schedules. If you don't have time to bake it, we do, and we're happy to support you in that. So thank you again for your time, Tyler. I really appreciate it.
Glad to have you on as well. Kelly Rankin from Nothing Bundt Cakes in West Bloomfield as we celebrate women-owned businesses right here in our community. Thank you so much for your time today. You can find Nothing Bundt Cakes in West Bloomfield again on the boardwalk at the Boardwalk Shopping Center on the Boulevard on Orchard Lake Road in West Bloomfield. And of course, we'll have more women-owned businesses with you right here on The Splash Live, as we have all throughout Women's History Month in the month of March. And we have those on CivicCenterTV.com as well. While you're over there, highly encourage you to watch the Thais Leverett Show, a fantastic program we put together at the beginning of this month that celebrates some of the most prominent women in business here in the greater West Bloomfield area. We talked to people that are working on inspiring other women like Stacy Zatkovich, the Chamber Executive Director for Greater West Bloomfield, Suzanne Levine, and others who are making big waves in government leadership as well as in business leadership, both here in Greater West Bloomfield and throughout the country as well. Really interesting program, CivicCenterTV.com. Close to home, something that affects us each and every day is our love for our local wetlands and woodlands. That natural life that surrounds us here in the greater West Bloomfield area is something that brings people into our community and is the apple of the eye of our residents each and every day. But invasive species put that at risk all throughout the year as they take over our ecosystems and threaten some of those natural plant life and put our local habitats at risk as well. So what can we do to prevent those invasive species and learn more about how they affect our local area? For that, I spoke recently to Lauren Missouri, the West Bloomfield Parks naturalist at West Bloomfield Parks. Here's our conversation. Joining us is an expert on that, West Bloomfield Parks naturalist supervisor, Lauren Missouri. Thank you so much for being with us, Lauren.
Thanks, Tyler. Although it's a kind of a gloom and doom subject, so maybe next time we can talk about something more happy and exciting.
There's always something happy to talk about in our natural landscapes here in Greater West Bloomfield, but we want to keep it that way, and the best way to do that is to kind of get rid of or alleviate the effect that these invasive species have on our local wetlands, woodlands, and wildlife. So what are some of the more common invasive species that tend to be problematic in Greater West Bloomfield?
Well, I would think the one that most would be able to recognize, because we are so rich in water here and water bodies, is Phragmites. It's the really tall one, over 8 feet tall, taller than all of us, with the big fluffy tuft on the top, and grows in wetland areas and roadsides and right-of-ways. That is the one that, we continue to battle, and it feels like a never-ending battle. But there are things that you can do if you have small populations of Phragmites, and that's a plant. But obviously invasives can be insects as well. But yeah, Phragmites is probably our most common and most recognizable one in our area.
And so what effect do they tend to have, the Phragmites, on those wetlands or other plant life that is natural to our wetland areas in our community?
Yeah, so by definition, an invasive obviously is not from around here. So that means that there is no natural cycle to control it. No animal in our area is recognizing these plants as something that they could eat or help control. So there's no way of reining it in naturally here because it's not from around here. So that's one problem, is that there's no natural control. The other problem is that it crowds out other natural species, which provide food and habitat for our other animals. But another huge issue that Phragmites is concerning is that it actually alters the pH of the water that it grows in. So eventually, if the patch gets large enough, it will alter the pH, which means that frogs can't live there, which means that all the beautiful water lilies that we have can't live there, which means that all of the water areas that you live in West Bloomfield for will look very different than they do now. So it can change in a lot of different ways. The other reason that it gets a lot of attention is because it is so tall and does tend to grow in disturbed wet areas like road right-of-ways, is that it can be a traffic problem because it will obstruct views around turns and in the middle of medians.
Yeah, I see that all the time in certain places in our community that, at some points of the year you can kind of take a look to your left, take a look to your right, and you're okay. But otherwise, you're kind of gambling on the traffic patterns, and that obviously is a big problem. There's so many others that are more ecological as opposed to human to human or with our machines. But you kind of got to go back to the point of origin. You would think that ports of entry would be where a lot of these invasive species get in to the United States, but how do they get into Michigan and more specifically into our local area so far inland?
Yeah, so it just depends on, obviously, the species. But while we're talking about Phragmites, that is grown and travels by seed head. So if you mow a road right-of-way here in our area, and then you don't clean your blades off and you have Phragmites seeds on it, then you might go to the next neighboring community and mow there and spread the seeds. So cleaning your equipment, and this is something that the Road Commission does now. They do clean their blades and equipment when they're mowing Phragmites. And you're also mowing at the right time of year, so you're not mowing when the seeds are ready to actually spread, when they're still enclosed in the plant. So knowing the life cycle of what you're trying to control is really important. But as far as what you can do in your own homes, if you're hiking in our parks and you went up north or to another state, we ask that you please wipe off your boots. It's simple as that. You can carry a lot of seeds just in the treads of your shoes. So cleaning your equipment and not moving firewood. I'm sure you've heard that before. If you've ever heard of the emerald ash borer years ago, was a big invasive species. I feel like people think that the not moving firewood is a ruse. Like they think, oh, the campground just wants me to buy their firewood, that's why. But there is actually really a very environmental reason why, and it's because many invasive species insects travel in firewood. So if you are going to go up to the Upper Peninsula, where maybe it's a little more pristine there, and you're going to bring firewood from here, you could be bringing egg masses from our invasive species that we have here that might not have made their way up there yet. So cleaning your equipment, not moving firewood, and knowing what to look for is really important.
Lauren Nazuri is with us, the Parks Naturalist Supervisor at West Bloomfield Parks. More information on their programs and different environmental learning opportunities for you and yours, wbparks.org, or follow them on Facebook at WBParks. We're talking about invasive species becoming a growing problem across the U.S., having a massive economic impact across North America, but it's not uncommon to us close to home here in Greater West Bloomfield either. And we know that different units of government sometimes will enact controlled burns. We've had that most recently in West Bloomfield just a few years ago at Jacob's Landing nearby us here in West Bloomfield Township. But for the average everyday resident of Greater West Bloomfield, they run into some of these invasive species that if they're able to identify them. What preventative measures can they take to either remove them or prevent them from continuing to spread throughout the area?
Yeah, I mean, I know that we all travel with our boats if you have a boat and you live on a waterway. So cleaning your boats at a boat wash station before you bring it back home to your home lake or to a northern lake or a different state. So cleaning your boats is really important. But also, some of these species can be controlled by hand pulling them. So just knowing what time of year to do it and how to do it. Even though Phragmites is almost as deep as it is tall, so the roots go very, very deep. So you might be able to hand cut. I know that certain chemicals get a bad reputation, but it has been proven, unfortunately, for a lot of invasive species, plants, that there are certain chemicals that can control them when applied properly at the right time of year. But really also just learning what they are. I have so many people that will come to me and say, oh my gosh, there's a beautiful purple plant growing by my lake. And I'm like, oh, does it have a tall stalk with little purple flowers? That's purple loosestrife, that's invasive. Like, even though the flower is pretty to us, it will take over your lake and change the whole atmosphere there. So you might want to just pull that up. So just getting to be a little bit more aware of what to look for. wbparks.org/invasive species. We've got a great website with lots of good visuals. You're also welcome to always send our naturalist team any photos of something that might be concerning to you, and we can help you identify it. But yeah, just being a little more aware of, even though it looks pretty, doesn't mean that it belongs here, and it can really be in a negative effect. As far as insects go, there's a big one around right now, and that's our spotted lanternfly. So you can be on the lookout for egg masses right now. That's the time of year. Spotted lanternfly is a little newer of an invasive species. Have you heard of it yet, Tyler?
I have heard of it. I haven't seen one. I don't know. I wouldn't be able to tell what it looks like, but I've heard of it.
Yeah, so this is the time of year that they have laid their egg masses, and we're looking for those. The adults won't emerge again until June, July. They'll be like little tiny little baby bugs. But right now we're looking for the egg masses, and they will lay their eggs on almost anything. So just keep it aware. If you see something that doesn't look quite normal, maybe even on your patio furniture, they like to lay eggs, on your vehicles, on any really like hard surface, and obviously on the bark of trees as well. And you can scrape those egg masses off and destroy them. It seems counterintuitive because I obviously am always a proponent of protecting wildlife. But when it comes to invasive species, the best thing is to help control their population so that our native wildlife can thrive here. So if you have any idea of something that might be like kind of like, let me see if I got a good picture for you I can share. This is quite the poster here, the Stop the Invader. But the egg masses are kind of, they're about 1/2 inch. And they can be shiny when they're first laid in the fall time, but right now they might even look more like this, like a crackled little like cake frosting, maybe old cake crackled frosting is a good description of how it is. Okay. But if you see that, you want to take a picture of it, and then you want to scrape it off and destroy it. And the photo helps us to know better where this is spreading. So it was first found here in Michigan in Pontiac at a greenhouse because it's attracted to another invasive species, which is tree of heaven. And so if you buy landscaping plants like tree of heaven, definitely be checking those plants in your backyard to make sure you don't have egg masses on them. But also check your patio furniture, check your vehicles, and look for these egg masses. Once you take that photo, make sure you share it. There's a thing that the Michigan DNR does that helps us locate and identify, and it's called Eyes in the Field. So obviously all of us naturalists and scientists can't be everywhere in everyone's backyards. Of course. And especially in West Bloomfield, we're fortunate. A lot of people share with me that they live up, their property lives right up to a wetland or a forest area. And so really we need everyone's eyes to help look for these things. So if you see something, you should report it. It's a quick, easy 5 minutes on a website, even less than that probably, to say, oh, I think I found something. And that really helps us get good data and where these spider lanternfly might be traveling to.
And a lot of those you can find even more information on, kind of know what you're looking for that's common to our area, as Lauren said, wbparks.org/invasive species. Lauren Missouri, West Bloomfield Parks naturalist, with us on the Splash Live. Before we let you go, anything else that we should know on this topic as we speak today?
Well, you had mentioned the economic, right? The economic negativity of where we spend a lot of money on controlling invasives. The reason we want everyone to start learning about the spotted lanternfly and what to look for is that they really attack and thrive on ornamentals like trees of heaven, but also on grapes and apples. And we live in Michigan, and that's our number 1 and number 2 crops here in northern Michigan. So definitely some concern in the agricultural industry here with these spotted lanternflies. So keep an eye out for those egg masses and help everyone out. And then, obviously, a great way to prevent this is to plant native species. So we always promote native species and more beneficial to the environment plants. So look out for our native plant sale in the spring. And then we were talking about how a way you can help out, right? So you can hand pull a lot of these. One invasive species we didn't talk about today, but is really common in our area, is garlic mustard. Yeah. It's a small little plant that can spread. It becomes a monoculture, takes over, but it's easier for us to control because we don't have to use chemicals. We just need a lot of people's hands to help us. So we do a garlic mustard gatherers in May, where the community comes together and we meet on the trail, and we kind of do a lively competition of who can pull the most, prizes for the most pull. But we've seen such an impact of that over the years. Our 4th graders in West Bloomfield School District have come out year after year to help us pull. In the areas that they really focused on now, there's a lot of great natives growing there, and the garlic mustard has really gone down. So we've seen the impact of what we can do in our community together with that. So definitely come join us for a garlic mustard pull in the spring here.
All that. Always good to speak to Lauren Missouri and the team over at West Bloomfield Parks about environmental topics. Very important to all of our residents here across Greater West Bloomfield as they protect that natural life and the wetlands and woodlands that they love in our communities each and every day. That is going to do it for today's edition of the Splash Live. You can always stay up to date with us on our social media, Facebook at Civic Center TV 15, as well as on YouTube, on X, and on Instagram at Civic Center TV. Big thank you to our entire crew, Kevin McIntosh, Jake Schaff, and Calvin Brown, for their help today. And thank you for tuning in. For the entire team, I'm Tyler Kieft, live, local, social. This has been the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.